Good evening and welcome to Spectrum TV News at 9. I am Uyai and I can come to you live from Uyo, the capital city of Akwa Ibom State, Nigeria. Let's take a look at the headlines. President-elect Tinubu and wife arrive Abuja from France. Air Peace volunteers to evacuate stranded Nigerians from Sudan. Plus, Biden expected to shrug off polls aged 92. Details of these stories and more in a moment. Good evening. First in the news tonight is the President-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who has arrived at Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, today. Tinubu's flight touched down at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, and was welcomed by a crowd of supporters. The President-elect arrived from France in the company of his wife Oluremi Tinubu at the presidential wing of the airport to a rousing welcome by party faithful and supporters who had been anticipating his arrival. The Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima was also among the supporters and top members in Paris and London. In a related development, President Muhammadu Buhari has again expressed his readiness to welcome Tinubu to the State House as President a week while exchanging Eid greetings in a phone call to mark the end of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan with incoming President Bola Tinubu. Buhari and Tinubu thanked God for seeing the day and prayed for the stability and the well-being of the nation. The president said his conviction was based on Nigeria. Meanwhile, the ruling All Progressives Congress APC has dissolved its Presidential Campaign Council PCC, which was inaugurated in October to campaign for the victory of the President-elect Asiwaju Bola Tinubu and his running mate Kashim Shettima in the build-up to the 2023 presidential election. The dissolution was contained in a statement that was jointly signed for his unflinching support for APC presidential candidates throughout the electioneering campaign. The Plateau State Governor also appreciated all the members of the PCC and supporters of the party for working assiduously for the resounding victory of the President-elect. Recall that Buhari had presided over the unveiling of the Presidential Campaign Council at the State House in Abuja on October 21st with National Chairman of the party Abdullahi Adamu, APC governors and other political stakeholders in attendance. Away from that, the federal government has inaugurated the World Blood Donor Day Committee. The acting Director General of the National Blood Service Commission, Dr. Omale Amedu, disclosed this in a press statement. It says that non-governmental organizations, including the World Health Organization, is tasked with ensuring a successful celebration of the World Blood Donor Day. The World Blood Donor Day celebration, aimed at raising awareness on the importance of blood donation, is scheduled to take place on June 14, 2023. Meanwhile, evacuated by air as the airport is out of commission. The Foreign Affairs Minister explained that the country's situation is particularly challenging evacuating. In a related development, the federal government has insisted that Nigerian students in Sudan should remain indoors while it continues making arrangements for their safe evacuation from the country. A statement from the Embassy of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in Khartoum, signed by the Charge d'Affaires H.Y. Gako, advised the students to disregard the notice circulated by the National Association of Nigerian Students (NANS) in Sudan, calling on students to converge at the African International University NANS office and El Razi University for evacuation, or bring the sum of $100 or $200 for evacuation from the Sudanese authorities. The embassy also reassured the Nigerian students that their safety and well-being were of priority concern. In crisis hit Sudan on Tuesday, The agency's director of special duties, Onimode Bandele, said in an interview that nobody has been evacuated yet. According to him, the Director General, National Emergency Management Agency, between the Nigerian Embassy in Khartoum and the NEMA Director General. In a related development, volunteered to evacuate Nigerians stranded in war-torn Central African country Sudan. The exercise, which will not attract any charge according to the crisis zone, the airpeace chairman said if the Nigerians could be moved to a neighboring country, the airline would fly there and evacuate them. As Sudan's airspace is closed from civil aviation flights, Onyema said he's compelled to help because Nigeria cannot afford to lose her citizens in that country, and summoned the project manager at Daewoo Engineering and Construction Limited and the project manager of Saipem Contracting Nigeria Limited to appear before it over alleged unfair labor practices against Nigerian workers engaged in the construction of the NLNG Train 7 project in Bonny River State. The committee also summoned the managing director of Evomec Global Services and the managing director of Seco Construction and Leasing Company to appear before it on May 2nd, 2023. Over the same, Daewoo Engineering and Construction Limited and its employees under the aegis of the National Association of Plant Operators. The association was demanding fair labor practices in line with international best practices from the South Korean firm. Recall that the national president in October 2022. Still from the Green Chambers, where indications have emerged that the race for the speakership of the 10th House of Representatives is now a three-horse race, with lawmakers-elect queuing behind the trial of the incumbent chairman, House Committee on Appropriations Aliyu Betara, incumbent Deputy Speaker Ahmed Wase, and former chairman, who represents Ekiti Isin Irekpodun Okero Federal Constituency in Kwara State, lawmaker representing Maladomdori, Kaugama Federal Constituency in Jigawa State, and Deputy Chairman of the House Committee on Defense, Abubakar Yalman, Committee on Science Research Institute, Olaide Akinremi. Others are House Deputy Majority Leader Peter Akpatason, Chairman, House Committee on Media and Public Affairs, Benjamin Kalu, Chairman, House Committee on Land Transport, Tajuddin Abbas, and lawmaker representing Omimo and Okigwe Flight and Accountability Project SERAP has urged President Muhammadu Buhari to set up a presidential panel of inquiry to promptly probe the grim allegations that over 149 million barrels of crude oil are missing, as documented in the 2019 audited report by the Auditor General of the Federation and Nigeria Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, the country's oil wealth and the full recovery of any proceeds of crime. In the letter signed by SERAP's Deputy Director, Kolawole Oluwadare, the organization said there was a legitimate public interest in ensuring justice and accountability for the very serious allegations. Meanwhile, according to the 2019 audited report by the Auditor General, over 107 million barrels of crude oil in 2019. Elsewhere, the National Population Commission (NPC) has reassured the public of the safety of its server and data as they prepare for the 2023. Recall that the staff of the Commission and Controller of Changcha local government area in Niger State, Sanusi Megida, had earlier claimed that the NPC server was hacked. Megida had cited this development as the reason for the postponement of the In education, the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAM) has said it would continue the registration of direct entry (DE) until after the conduct of the Unified Tertiary Matriculation. Desirers of direct entry registration will not be denied the opportunity to register, provided they comply with the board's directives and within the stipulated time frame. He said the direct entry registration was initially scheduled to close on Thursday, April 20, but was extended to continue till Saturday, May 6, when the 2023 UTM ensured that they obtain their e-pins from designated vending outlets on or before April 30th, when e-pin vending would be closed. According to Benjamin, candidates are then expected to proceed to the board's offices from Saturday, April 6 through Saturday, May 13 to complete their registration procedure. Copyright infringement and abuse of all literary works in the country. The Director General of NCC, John Eisen, made this known in Abuja in a statement. In commemoration of World Book and Copyright Day, which is celebrated every April 23rd, ICN, while lamenting over the cases of piracy in the country, noted that the new Copyright Act 20 authors and other stakeholders to join the Commission in telling the copyright story and drawing attention to the ills of piracy and other copyright abuses. The NCC visions of the Act on the protection of expressions of folklore. Away from that, the Commissioner for Information and Voter Education of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Festus Okoye, has said that the Commission lacks the power to General of Police, detailing some of the infractions which the INEC Resident Electoral Commissioner committed and asking for a thorough investigation of his actions. He said that there are enough leads that would help the police to arrest the REC. Recall that the REC had announced the results of Adamawa supplementary governorship poll and declared the candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Aishatu Dairu, as the winner of the poll. Still to come in the news. Of these and more after the break.
Products and services are pitched on a platform that gives you the added advantage over your competitors. For your desired return on investment and so much more, advertise on Spectrum Television, on StarTime's DTH Channel 421 and on free-to-air with a frequency of 12733. Spectrum Television, broadening your horizon.
Good morning, Nigeria.
The Nigerian broadcasting industry has worked tirelessly to serve you.
And now, this service will finally be recognized.
Come May 17th this year, broadcasters all over Nigeria will gather at a hotel and suites for the maiden edition of the bill and ends on 4th May 2023. Visit www.tnbawards.ng to vote now. They've served and they're still serving. It's time we say thank you. This award is organized by the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, Bonn.
Reflecting the common Nigeria.
From issues on politics,
hello Nigeria, I remain committed.
Security.
Education, health,
lifestyle, and so much more. Join Janice Kobum and Uyai Aniakin
every weekday from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on Rise and Shine Daily, exclusive on Spectrum Television.
Every society is premised on the quality of relationships forged by its inhabitants. The health of these relationships determines how well people, relationships, organizations thrive and how long they stick together. Join Uyai and Times to catch all the conversations, interviews, real stories, and how to navigate relationships and family life in the 21st century. Real people, real faces, real stories. Connect live on Spectrum Television.
Pope Francis has called for dialogue between warring military factions in Sudan as fighting entered a second week. The pontiff said this during a traditional prayer at St. Peter's Square in Rome. He encouraged the world to pray for the Sudanese and called for a ceasefire in the country. Recall that the fighting between Army Chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan's forces and the rival Rapid Support of the RSF into the regular army. Meanwhile, the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, is reportedly deploying a team of disaster response experts to coordinate a humanitarian response in Sudan amid fighting between rival army factions. The agency's head, Samantha Power, said that the experts would work with the international partner in the initial phase of its operations. Power emphasized calls by the international community for a ceasefire and end to the bloodshed. Still in Africa, Kenyan police have recovered who believed they would go to heaven if they starved themselves. The death toll, which has been rising steadily over the past 2 days as exhumations have been carried out, could rise further as the Kenyan Red Cross has said 112 people have been reported missing to a tracing desk it operates. According to reports, the cult was called the Good News International Church and its leader, Paul Mackenzie, was Meanwhile, at least 60 people were killed by men in military uniforms in northern Burkina Faso, according to Lamine Traoré, evacuated to hospitals, and that an investigation into the killings has been opened. Meanwhile, jihadi fighters linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group have waged a violent insurgency in Burkina Faso for 7 years last year. On the foreign scene, foreign nations have pushed with frantic evacuations of their citizens from chaos-torn Sudan, where heavy fighting raged for the 10th day again, clashed in Khartoum and across the country as terrified Sudanese endure acute shortages of water, food, medicine, fuel, as well as power and internet blackouts. The agencies noted that at least 427 people have been killed and more than 3,700 wounded, while Sudanese civilians are reportedly fleeing areas affected by the fighting. Meanwhile, the United States and multiple European, Middle Eastern, African and Asian nations have launched among convoys of UN cars and buses have made their way from the Sudan capital, where gunfire again echoed through the streets, to Port Sudan on the Red Sea coast. Meanwhile, foreign nations pushed today with evacuations of their citizens from chaos-torn Sudan. Military troops again clashed in Khartoum and across the country. Terrified Sudanese have sheltered in their homes from roaming fighters and looters amid acute shortages of water, food, medicine and fuel, as well as power and internet blackouts. The United States and multiple European, Middle Eastern, African and Asian nations have launched emergency measures. 7 people have been killed and more than 3,700 wounded, according to UN agencies, which reported Sudanese civilians fleeing areas affected by fighting, including to Chad, Egypt, and South Sudan.
injured. Since the start of fighting on 15 April, within Sudan that could engulf the whole region. Since the start of fighting on 15 April, hundreds of people have been killed.
Still on the foreign scene, after months of teasing, President boldly pushing what were once considered age boundaries for one of the planet's most stressful jobs. Neither the White House, the Democratic Party, nor the president himself have confirmed he will announce, but multiple U.S. media reports, citing unnamed sources, say the move will come early Tuesday in a video address. This would follow the low-key format of a video, as was Barack Obama's 2012 re-election campaign announcement. By contrast, Trump formally launched his bid for a second term in 2019 at one of his signature rallies. Meanwhile, the 76-year-old Republican has already announced his bid for under multiple other investigations on serious allegations. In the meantime, an American airline Boeing 737's engine burst into flames mid-air before the pilots safely executed an emergency landing at Ohio Airport. The incident was reported to have taken place 14 minutes after the plane took off. According to FlightWare, a website that tracks flights nationally, the American Airlines Flight 1958 to Phoenix, Arizona, took off from John Glenn Columbus International Airport at 7:43 a.m., but landed back at the airport at 8:22 a.m. Meanwhile, witnesses on the scene said it was struck by a Elsewhere, 9 European countries are holding a summit today aimed at scaling up wind power generation in the North Sea, spurred by the fallout of the Ukraine war and the push for renewables. Hosted by Belgium in the coastal town of Ostend, the meeting will gather the leaders of EU members, France, Germany, Ireland, Denmark, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, with European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen on delegation and not Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, who could not make it. Meanwhile, Belgian Prime Minister Alexander De Croo said ahead of the summit that the goal was for enough North Sea wind farms to be built to produce 130 gigawatts of electricity by the end of this decade. Meanwhile, the European Union has imposed sanctions on cousins of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad over the trafficking of stimulant drug Captagon, a key source of income for the regime. An investigation in November found that Syria has become a narco state with the $10 billion industry in Captagon, the United States and Britain in imposing asset freezes and visa bans on Wassim Badi al-Assad and Sama Kamal al-Assad. According to the EU, the trade in amphetamine has become a regime-led business model, enriching the inner circle of the regime and providing it with revenue that contributes to its ability to maintain its policies of repression against the civilian population. Meanwhile, a third cousin of the president, Muda Rifat al-Assad, was also included on the blacklist, although no explicit treatment to date toughened its sanctions against Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as part of new restrictions on Tehran for alleged human rights violations. Foreign Secretary James Cleverly announced a travel ban and assets freeze on 4 individuals and the IRGC in its entire. Say he has come under repeated pressure from members of parliament to extend sanctions on members of the IRGC and proscribe it as a terrorist organization. Meanwhile, the UK, along with its Western allies, has increased sanctions on senior officials in the IRGC after a hardline crackdown on protesters in Iran. In the meantime, French President Emmanuel Macron today hit out at China's ambassador to Paris for remarks questioning the sovereignty of former Soviet states, insisting their borders are inviolable. France today told China's ambassador to Paris to stick to Beijing's official at a meeting planned for some time at the French Foreign Ministry. Ambassador Liu Shai was told to make his public remarks in line with the official position of his country. China's Foreign Ministry spokeswoman earlier today insisted that Beijing respects the sovereignty of all ex-Soviet countries. Days to buy ammunition for Ukraine after Kiev expressed frustration at wrangling among EU member states. Meanwhile, Russian appointed authorities in Crimea said the military fended off a Ukrainian strike on a main naval base today, while an exploding drone was also reportedly effective. China has stated that it respects the sovereign status of former Soviet member states, its foreign ministry said today, distancing itself from comments by its envoy to Paris that triggered an outrage across Europe. Reports say several EU foreign ministers are unacceptable and had asked Beijing to clarify its stance. Elsewhere, some 300 former correspondents in Russia from 22 different countries have written an open letter to the Kremlin in English and Russian to demand Greskovich 30 and faces between 10 to 20 years in prison if convicted. According to reports, 301 former Russia correspondents from 22 different countries signed an open letter today addressed to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov demanding his release. Meanwhile, a collective of journalists and members of Russian civil society also called for the liberation of Greskovich in a letter published on the 4th of April by the independent news website Medusa.
Thank you and good evening. Welcome to Business News. My name is Blyden Okem. In the news, in 2022, as Russia's invasion of Ukraine failed, a sharp jump in military spending across Europe, according to a leading defense think tank. Global spending rose for the 8th consecutive year. The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, SIPRI said. In its answer, said, most of that was linked to Russia and Ukraine, but other countries also stepped up military spending in response to perceived Russian threats. In Chile, Chile plans to nationalize lithium extraction industry. The world's second largest lithium producer, Chile, plans to nationalize the lithium extraction industry, according to Chilean President Gabriel Boric, adding that future contracts would be given only to public-private partnerships with state control. The announcement sent shares in the world's biggest lithium producer, Albemarle Corporation and SQM, tumbling on Thursday and early Friday. Chile produces lithium from brine. The Chilean move to nationalize its huge lithium extraction industry, the crucial first step in the battery production supply chain, is aimed at protecting the environment and boosting economic growth, according to President Boric in a televised address. The firm disclosed this in its unaudited interim financial information released on Sunday. Cadbury earned 16.56 billion naira in revenue between January and March this year. This is 3.77 billion naira higher than the 12.78 billion naira 23. This is 650 million naira higher than the 9.55 billion naira Cadbury spent on production in the same period in 2022. Cadbury produces Bonvita and 3-in-1 hot chocolate beverages Tom Tom, Candy Caramel, Candy Coffee, Buttermint, and Clorets Gum. And in Zimbabwe, negotiation against the dollar state-run Sunday Mail reported. This will allow those holding small amounts of Zimbabwean dollar to exchange their money for digital tokens to store value and hedge against currency volatility. The tokens will help ensure that those with low amounts of currency can buy the gold unit, so that we will no longer, or no one, and no place behind would be left behind, Mugadia told the Mail. Last year, the Southern African country has also introduced gold coins in bid to match the US dollar. This is all we have for you on Business News. Happy Eid al-Fitr.
Thanks for staying tuned. Still to come in the news. On the set to sign Ronaldo's choice F manager. Do stay with us.
Nigerian police, which is the only one allowed by cross them. Our governors have to administered, organized, and supervised by the Nigerian police.
No, my lord, I want to say something. I want to say something here. Perhaps it might also enlarge the scope of people who should be invited here for examination. My lord, if we cannot find those who literally murdered Abiola, who are those people who could be said to be the beneficiaries?
Council is leaving the evidence in our matter.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord, but we can't be talking about cases which are in court.
Is this an adversary proceeding?
It's not, my lord. These cases are in court, my lord. I'm just reminding your lordship.
My lord, sorry, my lord, I think I'll be in cross examination.
Legally Speaking, a program that deals with legal issues and questions we face as citizens of this amazing country, Nigeria. Legally Speaking. Join us every
Friday from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m.
for Legally Speaking.
Thanks for staying tuned. In conclusion of the news tonight, the European Union Environmental Agency has said air pollution still causes more than 1,200 premature deaths a year. It further revealed that despite recent improvements, the level of key air pollutants in many European countries remains stubbornly above World Health Organization and has caused deaths in under 18s across Europe and increases the risk of chronic disease later in life. Further in health, the death toll in Equatorial Guinea from a briefing today, saying the figures are a provisional toll based on lab-confirmed tests as of April 21. It said in an update, adding that 116 people were currently being monitored as contact risk. Meanwhile, in sports, Al Nassr has decided to sign Cristiano Ronaldo's choice of manager as a replacement for sacked Rudy Garcia. According to Win-Win Sports via AS, the club wants to ensure that Ronaldo unites with Luis Enrique and Cup in Qatar and has been fighting hard to get a new job since then. Meanwhile, Enrique is still in line for the take of the vacant position left behind by the sacking of Graham Potter at Chelsea, with the Blues expressing keen interest. Notably, Ronaldo is said to have been pushing to reunite with Enrique while he was at Manchester. A plane that was to carry the Arsenal women's team back from the Champions League semi-final first leg against Wolfsburg burst into flames on the runway in a German airport. According to reports, the incident occurred at the Brunswick-Wolfsburg airport after a bird flew into the engine shortly before it was due to take off, causing a loud bang. The pilot of the Boeing 737. Meanwhile, Arsenal have released a statement confirming they returned home safely today. Meanwhile, Algeria captain Riyad Mahrez becomes the first player to score an FA Cup semi-final hat-trick at Wembley as Manchester City swept aside Sheffield United 3-0 long before the semi-finals were moved from various venues to the National Stadium. Meanwhile, City manager Pep Guardiola said Riyad is grumpy with him all the time when he does not play. On entertainment news, Afrobeat sensation David Adeleke, popularly known as Davido, found himself in a scuffle with an unruly fan during his highly anticipated Timeless concert at Lagos Tafawa Balewa Square, accommodating over 50,000 fans, according to newsmen, as Davido dazzled the audience with his performance. A fan unexpectedly stormed the stage and approached him in a menacing manner. However, the quick-thinking meanwhile, the viral video of the altercation has caused a buzz on social media, with many applauding Davido's ability to defend himself and handle the situation with composure, while others speculate on the motive behind the fans' action. In a related development, one of the hosts of Davido's Timeless concert, Mr. Macaroni, has released his experience at the event, describing it as one to be cherished forever. The comedian, who played host with colleague Kikie, spoke on the first time he met with the Afrobeat superstar and how they turned out to be family. According to Mr. Macaroni, Davido's billionaire business mogul dad, Adedeji Adeleke, bought him his first laptop, which he used in school, saying he never got weary of sending him money, as an unknown as DJ Copy has reacted to the rumors making the rounds that she is pregnant for her British fiancé Ryan Taylor. The rumors reportedly started after the billionaire daughter posted a video of herself dancing with her belly slightly protruded. Responding to one of her followers' question on whether she is pregnant, Copy said she only has a belly. And that's all we have. .ng. You have been watching Spectrum TV News at 9. I am Uyai Aniakan. Thanks for watching and to have a splendid night rest. Good night.